Hi, I'm Keith Thibodeaux, and you may remember me as playing the son of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz on the iconic I Love Lucy show. Um, and I'm pleased to be here with my friend on the Jim Masters show today.
How cool is that to have Keith Thibodeaux do the intro on the Jim Masters show? And how did you like that little stinger? Being the drummer that you are.
Well, it's always nice to have a familiar drum beat going on.
Our show themed drum beat. How have you been, my friend? Everything going well?
Oh, yeah, I have a mother who will turn 96, Lord willing, in July. Yeah.
God bless her, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, she's like, she's got her mind, she's got, her health. She enjoys, she's in assisted living, but she's really good. She's well off. Yeah, does
That is
well.
that is so cool. That is absolutely incredible. And she, I'm sure, very proud of you following your career and all your exploits all these years, huh?
Yeah, she can't get away from it.
Now, did she get to meet over the years some of the iconic figures that you worked with? Did she meet a Lucy and a Desi and all the rest?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, I was part of their lives for so much that that interaction happened occasionally. Yeah, picnics and at their house and other things.
That is so cool. People know you, of course, as we mentioned, from the iconic I Love Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, and all of the incredible episodes that are still, beloved and revered and talked
Hmm.
about and studied, and people just can't seem to get enough of all of the characters, you and Lucy and Ricky and Fred and Ethel and Mrs. Trumbull and
Yeah, all those people.
all
How
of
did
those people.
how did it all happen? Is what I want to know.
When you think about it, that is a good question, because you you started really early. I mean, the background as far as being in the world of actually music, as you're an actor and musician, best known, as we mentioned, for Little Ricky on I Love Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, though you've done so much more. Of course, worked with Ron Howard, Andy Griffith, and other shows through the years. But you really showed your skill on the drums at a young age, Keith, right? Making around $500, which would be about 6,000 today, uh, a week at the age of 3 while touring with the Horace Heidt Orchestra.
Yeah, I could have bought a Mercedes Benz after about a month because they sold for like 6,000 brand new. So
Right.
uh, that was different times for sure. But the Horace Heidt had an orchestra back in the 50s and I guess the late 40s. And he was a pretty famous band leader who discovered me in Louisiana and joined his show as a regular when I was like 4 years old. So I did tours. I went all over the U.S. and Canada with the orchestra, playing with people like Lionel Hampton, the great jazz, great Al Hurt was his first chair trumpet. So it wasn't small potatoes.
Not at all. And as you got older, did you ever get a chance to revisit opportunities to chat with some of those legendary people as they saw you older and coming up the ranks? Obviously, you can have a different level conversation with them beyond when you're 3 years old, right?
Yeah, being so young, it was a little bit of a handicap in that regard, but it was very surrealistic, as a kid, very um, very unusual start for a young man coming from Louisiana and not having any show business background at all, of course, and just had an innate ability to play the drums. Started out on trash cans, pots and cans, and not with knives and forks, and sort of elevated my drum set as I learned, and finally got so good that I began to be known as Keith Thibodeaux, pound for pound, the greatest drummer around.
Which is perfect. It really is.
Yeah.
So, how did that even happen, even at that level, at that age? Was it your parents that sort of got you out there and people started to see you and hear what you could do at such a young age, Keith? How were you getting those connections so early? Most kids are on the corner and their publicity is the lemonade stand.
Exactly, and I rode my little stick horse and played in the sandbox with the other kids, but on the side, I would jump on the metal trash cans, which they had back in those days, and I started beating on these trash cans in the backyard, and a neighbor lady heard me playing and constantly playing on the trash can, and she said, "I think you need to get your son a set of drums because he's got rhythm." And I hear rhythm coming from your son. So that materialized into a Christmas, toy drum, and then I wanted a real drum, and then I would go to parades and I listened to the bands play, and on the radio, the big bands on the radio, I would, that's about all we had back in those days, and then finally the audition for the Horse Heights show came up, and it was a sort of like a Ted Mack amateur hour type of thing that he did, where he'd call it something like youth opportunity, where he develop try to find local talent in different cities across the nation, and he came to Lafayette, Louisiana, and found me, and I joined his touring entourage, and my first booking was in Durham, North Carolina, with the band, and then it went on.
That is really, really amazing at such a young age as well. And then your father took you, I guess, you had to head to California. You were on an audition for the part of Little Ricky back in 1955. And didn't you walk on set and there was Lucille Ball, who, I'm sure looked like a giant because she was so tall and standing there. And she looked at you and said something to the effect of, okay, he's cute. What does he do?
Yeah, yeah, and so my dad said, "Well, he plays the drums," and she said, "Oh, come on, well, we've got to see this." So there was a set of drums on the set, which Desi had his orchestra, his drummer, and she said, "Go over there and let him play." And so I did, and started playing, and started just hitting the drums, and finally all the people on the set started coming around, and the well-known producer Sheldon Leonard, who filmed at Desilu, he came over and was enjoying the racket, I guess. And then finally, Desi himself, Desi Arnaz Senior, came up, and Ricky Ricardo to other people, and
Right.
started playing with me on the drums, and after about couple minutes playing, he stood up and laughed and said, "I think we found little Ricky."
Wow, that's amazing. And did your folks have any idea, of what could possibly happen? And that was at a time when television, was really growing. People were buying television sets left and right. All of these series and shows became not only classics but epic and beloved. Was there any thought of, well, gee, this is something that might last a long time, or was it just in the beginning, a gig? We're getting paid, it's a gig, that kind of thing.
I think it was a big opportunity for myself, of course, and my family. We had to move from Louisiana with my other brothers and sisters, and join me and my dad there, and so it was an opportunity of a lifetime. It was a big show, like you said, television was just coming into its nexus, and it was just an opportunity that, you grab these opportunities when you have them. I mean, that's kind of what it was, and nobody really understood, what it would come to, or that it would be the iconic, classic sitcom that a lot of other sitcoms sort of base their shows on and try to learn and study and all this crazy stuff. I mean, it wasn't any of that. It was just, it was basically work, and that's what I was called to do. And I had a talent of drumming, so the fact that I drummed and that I learned my lines to play on the show, uh, that became the little Ricky on their show that people remember.
How did that happen? How were you able to you obviously had the musical prowess, you were really good, and they noticed that, but, you were definitely a cute kid. You had a certain look and just the way the hair was cut,
Oh
and
yeah.
you people just always thought that you were Desi Arnaz Jr., and the two of you were one in the same. And I know you and Desi Jr., I'm sure, and the whole family have had laughs about that because people just assumed it because there is a similar, look, especially to Desi Senior, and you could easily think that you are Junior. And I think I saw something once when I chatted with Lucy Arnaz, who's been on the show several times, and I think she has said publicly too that there was a time where they even thought that you were a part of their family, the Arnaz family, right?
Well, I kind of thought I was too at
Yeah.
one point, to be honest. I would be asked to go over on weekends and spend the weekend with Desi and Lucy Jr. and hang out with them and watch movies and play in their backyard, and just I basically grew up with them, and that's the interesting thing is that they created the character Little Ricky, and they had twins that played, a set of twins that played. I think they had two sets of twins, so it was just this evolution of Little Ricky, that they wanted someone that can look like Ricky, and I was basically that person. They would spray my hair black because my hair was really brown, and Desi had premature gray hair, so they would spray his hair black too. So it was a created character that they made up.
Were you were you nervous? Were you spunky? Were you just making sure you were listening to everything they were saying and doing what was asked of you? What was the atmosphere like? And how did you, you're a kid, so how did you embrace it all and work with it all and do it all? Because you were very natural on set. And when we watched this show, which we've done for decades, you were so natural. And sometimes you had certain facial expressions that were so perfect for whatever the craziness was going on between Lucy and Ricky and Fred and Ethel. You would come in and say, something that would sort of just straighten it all out.
Yes.
And your facial expressions were spot on. It was really fantastic casting. But for you, what was the set life like, the atmosphere, and how did you know, stay true to script and memorize and do all these things at such an early age?
Yeah, I mean, you had to be on your best behavior. My dad said that, if I got out of line in any kind of way, that was not going to be happy for me. And I believe he said, make sure you call Lucy Miss Arnaz or Miss Ball, and Desi Mr. Arnaz, and call people with a Mister, because we're from the South, and we're all, Mister, yes, ma'am, all this. And but Lucy, when I said, Miss Ball, she says, "Oh, don't." She said, "Do not call me that." She says, "Honey, I want you to call me Lucy, and I want you to call Desi Desi, Viv and Bill, you know. Uh, and it was all on a first name basis because we were a cast, a created cast for this unique show called the I Love Lucy show. And you know, all those actors were bigger than life to me. And I was just a little kid from Louisiana. So I was this little kid who played the drums, and basically that's the main thing that I did. But I had to learn to sort of say these lines, and I guess some of the naturalness of a kid was brought into the scenario as my character, little Ricky, you know. So I think people saw that, you know. I wasn't the greatest actor around at that time, and it just was. I just fit in very well with that.
You really did. Yeah, you really, really did. And were you paying attention to what was going on? Like some people, when they're kid actors, they will watch the producers, the directors, the crew, see how they're moving the cameras around, climbing the ladders, adjusting lights. And sometimes that'll spark an interest in them to want to pursue directing, producing other behind the scenes aspects of what they're seeing going on in this playland of the studio around them. Did that interest you along the way too when you saw the crew and all the incredible? I mean, the crews that they had on these shows were legendary people as well, the editors and everybody.
The cameraman, you know, uh,
Yeah,
and these people who the cameraman was like the guy who shot Frankenstein movies. I mean, these were like you know, like serious classic RKO people that had been there for a long time. Yeah, I mean, it interests me to see the cameraman to sit on the camera and to look behind it, to see what the grips did and how they carried the cables, make sure the cameras weren't going, you know, haywire. And I think one of the directions I had was when you're on set and then we're shooting, do not look directly into the camera. uh, so it wasn't like a podcast like this. It was so I always knew no matter what, I wouldn't look into the camera.
right. Because we were the ones that were looking in, watching
Yes,
all of you. Right,
right,
exactly.
right.
You weren't auditioning or performing for camera. And did that come natural? Or because we're trained, you know, especially as kids, now look in the camera, say cheese. Whenever you see the camera, look at it. And you had to do the reverse. It's there, it's following you, it's getting your moves, but don't acknowledge. You know, every
Yeah,
once in a while, there are times when there have been actors and actresses who will sort of break that wall and you'll see them do a maybe it's a closing shot or it's a
yeah,
reaction to something crazy that something another cast member just said and they'll look at the camera like or something like that.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's more intentional when they want to do something like that. But it was basically those things were invisible to me. You know, I just kind of shut them out of my mind, and you know, the lights were hot. And then, you know, after a shot, the makeup lady would come over and dab me off with Kleenex, you know, because if you're sweating, and it gets pretty hot under those lights that were back in the 50s like that. They were big old lights.
Yes, absolutely right. And did you have to do a lot of takes or were you pretty good at you know getting it quickly? Or maybe they would want a bunch of different takes too.
Well, it wasn't so much that because we were filming in front of a live audience, so there was about
Right.
300 people in the audience, and so it was filmed like a play. That's what Lucy wanted, and so you had to really do it first time. I think we probably retook it maybe with me maybe one time. That's all I can really remember. So it was very much like you had to do what you were asked to do, and you had to be right on spot. You had to know where your cue was, where your mark was on the floor. Go to there, you know, for this thing, and look at me, and it was all directed in a way.
we had Tim Matheson. I was chatting with him, of course, another iconic actor, and so many different things from Yours, Mine, and Ours, working with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda,
Sure.
to Animal
Yeah.
House, and everything
Sure.
else.
Yeah.
Great guy too, just like you. Very approachable, very
Mm.
real deal. And he was talking about one of the people he's looked up to of the many people he's worked with. He mentioned Clint Eastwood. He mentioned Jackie Gleason, Dick Van
Oh
Dyke,
yeah.
but he
Yeah.
mentioned Lucille Ball as well. In
Yeah.
just watching her work, he said she was really, she could be a taskmaster. She was very exacting, perfectionist, really wanted everything perfect. She wanted people to not come in and just play with the prop, but really know what that prop is about, and use that prop to the best of your ability, and pretty much get it right, type of thing. And he shared a story once on the set. I think it was Here's Lucy, because he was a guest on Here's Lucy, and I think he was playing maybe a love interest of Lucy Arnaz, and he said something to the effect that Lucy had been working with, bringing in some of the vaudeville people who maybe weren't getting a lot of jobs and a lot of work, and she'd bring them on as guest stars, and other people on the show. So there was an episode of the show where he was on, and he was with Gail Gordon, and Lucy Arnaz is in another room, like on the phone or something in the shot. And one of Lucy's longtime vaudeville friends was appearing on the episode of Here's Lucy. And as that wonderful actress was getting ready to walk through the door to do her thing, Lucy had said off to the side, $20, she's going to blow her line. And everybody was like, what? And
Yeah.
and her friend, the vaudevillian actress, came through the door, nailed the line. The audience erupted, and she went up to Lucy and went, for the $20. So he said, she did it. He thought to, give her the spunk she needed to get out there and nail that line, and make the
Yeah.
the most
Yeah.
of it. And some people would be frightened by that, but she knew her because they were vaudeville
Yeah.
friends for such a long time.
Yeah.
With you, he also said that off camera too, the time with her, it was very mentoring. She was encouraging. She really wanted the best for him, and was giving him little tidbits. Did you find that to be the case too? Very exacting on set. Everything had to be, let's get it done. Time is money. But at the same time, offset, there was the warmth and
Yeah.
the welcome as well.
Yeah. She was very focused. Lucy was, if I could say one thing, when she was on the set, she was focused on her job. She was a no nonsense kind of individual who didn't put up with people who didn't know their stuff. And she was an old school person from Hollywood, so she had been through all her the rungs of different shows and movies and things like that, with different actors and different temperaments and all that. So she was an amazing uh, actress who she wasn't funny in real life. She could really act funny. The writers were superb, and they wrote in parts that she just she the Lucy, wacky Lucy, came out. And but off the set she was very more quiet. Of course, she'd speak her mind, but she was softer in some ways. And she would she was, I don't know, just a very passionate person who enjoyed the business of acting and the whole Hollywood thing. She respected other actors. She respected the ones that she respected. But it was part of her life, and that was her whole. That's what her life revolved around, was that.
Exactly. And Desi too was exacting in his own way too, as far as making sure things were done the way they were supposed to be done on both I Love Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour.
Yeah, he was more laid back than Lucy. He was more. In fact, I don't even think he. I mean, he ad libbed a lot of his lines sometimes, like Jackie Gleason.
Like
Uh,
Gleason did, yeah.
yeah, Gleason did a lot of ad libbing on the fly, but he was the kind of the brains as far as the filming and putting it on film so that it could be preserved to today in the way that the quality that it is today. Um, he was very he was more of the brains, and Lucy was more of the show. You know.
He's quoted as saying that oftentimes too, that he always gave so much credit to Lucy and to all of the other cast who made the magic, which is quite special. And then, of course, when the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour came along, you were on that too. And this is, I believe, a shot of one of your last scenes on the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour. What was that like being a part of that? A little bit more of a longer form version of it, and of course, their relationship was evolving and changing along the way too. But still, again, a breathtaking experience, huh?
It was, and the Lucy Dizzy Comedy Hour was a little easier, I think, for me as a kid, and I began to at that point embrace the idea of acting in a little bit deeper way. It was shot in with one camera instead of three cameras, which the I Love Lucy show was in front of a live audience, and so it had to be edited on the fly. And so it was a little bit more laid back. There was more not as much tension. It was more like a movie, type of thing. Um, uh, and it was something that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the last episode I was on was with Ernie Kovacs and Edie Adams, and I actually played the drums on that episode.
That was right. I remember that too, and the final kiss of Lucy and Ricky, Desi, at the sort of final scene there, and that was a great episode with Ernie Kovacs. Ernie Kovacs, to have just even met him, gone way too soon, was a genius mind, wasn't he? For his offbeat way of thinking and his comedy.
Yeah, he was a little ahead of his time in a lot of ways, and uh, he loved cigars like Desi, and I just remember him smoking those big stogies and with Desi and his Cuban cigars. At that point, you could get Cuban cigars, um, but it was a sad kind of show on looking back at it now that I know that it was the last show. I didn't know that it was the last show when we did it. And I don't think a lot of people did know that until Lucy Desi came out with the announcement after that it was indeed their last episode together as a husband and wife.
Right, exactly. In the annals of history over the years too. During the time of I Love Lucy, you've experienced so much. Did you have a favorite episode or two of the series that are your personal favorites, Keith?
Well, I think some highlights was the Babalu one and the George Reeves Superman comes to Little Ricky's birthday party episode. Um, there's the Maurice Chevalier, Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, where I played the drums and we sang Valentino with Maurice Chevalier. The Danny Thomas episode, where I got to hang out with Rusty Hamer and Angela Cartwright. And it was fun having other kids around too. That was always a good thing. Um, you know, most of the time I didn't have any kids on the set, so it was a bit lonely. It was just me and my teacher, Catherine Barton, who was an amazing teacher on the set, looked after my best interest, um, and but it was a little lonely. It was kind of boring in some ways, um, being the only kid there.
Right, exactly. I could imagine too. And you certainly expanded your drumming capabilities with some of these other instruments, the Latin themed instruments that came into your world too, right? You got exposure to bongos and a lot of other cool things.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't so much a bongo player as I am a regular drum set guy. But yeah, Desi would tell his drummer, who was from Cuba and Latin, to help give me some tips on playing bongos. And he sat with me a couple minutes, and after a couple minutes, he said, well, "He's got it. He's got it. Don't worry about it." And so the only hard thing about bongos is that you have to develop calluses on your hand for that, uh, because you're hitting the skins and the half of the wood, I guess, in some of the cases, and that was a little difficult for me. So when I'm doing the Babalu episode, Desi's just really going away at it, wailing at it, bringing his hands way up, and I'm just kind of like trying to not hurt my hands.
So the next time we watch that, we'll be thinking about that. Do you know what Keith went through to make sure that that scene was perfect for all of us folks? He was in pain.
It was a painful situation.
A painful situation, but you're such a pro. You made it happen. You also, stayed in touch with friends, of course, with Lucille Arnaz and Desi Jr. and you know, performed with Desi over the years too as well. It's a cool shot.
Yeah,
That-
that's our little combo. We had Little Ricky's combo, where we were featured on the Dinah Shore show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. What was it like, being able to do things like that too?
Well, that was a nice kind of a departure from normality, and what we did, and it gave us a chance to just really have fun playing music. And the show down the Dinah Shore show was a very great experience. I guess we had about 10 minutes of the show. I think it was an hour show. And she had Steve and Edie Gourmet on it as well, and some other luminaries like that. Um, but it was a great experience. Yeah.
You mentioned some of your favorite episodes as well. The episode where you're there with Superman himself, George Reeve. That had to be pretty cool. Even being a kid, having him right there on that very funny episode. Lucy ends up on the ledge. She's trying to top Carolyn Appleby and her kid Stevie's party and gets Superman as best as possible at the end there. But just to be able to, experience him must have been great, huh?
Well, he was my hero in real life. So, as a little kid, we all watched Superman, every day that it came on, and he was really super for us. And when he came, when I met him on the set, I mean, of course, George Reeves is a big old hulking guy, and little bitty me, I'm looking up at him and I'm thinking, wow, this guy really is super, in my little kid mind, excuse me. And it just was a great experience. He was very nice and charming guy, and you could tell he really enjoyed kids. And it wasn't just an act with him about kids. I think he really sort of you know got into the character, and was wanting to be like the kid's hero. And I
Right.
think I think he understood that.
Absolutely right. Of course, along the way, you had an opportunity to be on other TV shows over the years as well, and had a friendship with the folks over at Andy Griffith and other shows too. Right? That was a lot of fun as you're now getting older and more mature look and taking on other shows along the way. Did you enjoy that?
I did, yeah. I mean, I did some guest shots on different things like Route 66, Shirley Temple Playhouse, Bill Dana show, Joy Bishop show, Hazel, Farmer's Daughter. I was on the Farmer's Daughter with a guy named Davy Jones, who later became in later became in the show The Monkees and was part
Oh
of the
yeah,
Monkees.
Davy
Yeah.
Jones, right? Daydream
And
believer. Yeah,
yeah, we actually played a song on there called "I'm Gonna Buy Me a Dog," and
yeah.
which the Monkees actually did later. He was telling us on the set when we did the episode that he just got this part on this new series. It's going to be kind of like a Beatlesque, Hard Day's Night type of takeoff about these four guys in a band called the Monkees, and so that was a cool experience. But then I ended up getting uh, a job playing Johnny Paul Jason on the other iconic show, Andy Griffith, with Ron Howard.
Exactly right. And have you stayed in touch with Ron over the years? Bump into him at various events?
I have not seen him since I was on the show. I was quite a bit older. I was about 3 years older, but I looked younger, and so we didn't really hang out off the set. It was basically just a great. He was just one of the nicest guys in Hollywood as far as a child actor goes. People like Rusty Hamer. He was kind of a feisty kind of a kind of you know talked loud, and Ron was more of a down to earth guy who who really enjoyed what he did, but he eventually, like you said, he studied some of these directors, and I think he understood that's what he was really wanted to do in life, was to be behind the set.
Exactly right. As a prolific director over the years as well, and you, of course, as that's a cool shot of you too.
Oh, it's a
Uh,
60 shot. That's cool, isn't it?
isn't that a great shot? It really is. It looks like you're in one of the catalogs too.
Yeah, it's like the velour sweater, that's what we like.
Remember those?
Those are
Absolutely right.
velour. Yeah.
You're very comfortable and exactly. But matter of fact, before we talk about some of the other things, the music, you wrote a fabulous book too. That it's like a bestseller. Everybody loves this book, Life After Lucy. Tell us, what was the inspiration for the book? And I encourage anybody watching, whether you're an I Love Lucy fan, Desi, Lucy, Keith, or entertainment or television or anything, or you just like a good read that's open and real and honest. This book is fantastic, and Keith is very real and open and fun, and shares some incredible stories in this book, Life After Lucy, because only he knows he was on it and had lived past it. Um, what was the inspiration for the book?
Well, I mean, I didn't originally want to write it, but somebody sort of pressed me into doing it, and said you need to write it. And people would ask me questions about the show, and I always have to go through it all. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just write a book and let people read the book and find out for themselves that way, instead of me having to tell people. But I ended up writing the book, and with Audrey Hingley, who's a good friend of mine. And basically, it chronicles my life from starting drums and then getting to the Lucy Show, and then my whole life after that as a professional drummer with the rock band David and the Giants. But it really the whole point of the book is that there is life after Lucy. Um, and the life that I found was in my faith in Jesus Christ after much heartache and much sorrow and trials and tribulations and drugs and all the sex and all the junk that goes along with um, that kind of life. The sadness of my mom and dad's divorce. Uh, it really brings it out in the light, of my Christianity, and my faith in the Lord, and how He brought me out. And I could have been one of these child star stories that you see in some of these tabloids about how they don't end up very well.
It's beautifully said, my friend. It really is. Again, all documented in the book Life After Lucy. Through your life, as we know, television, that square box can make everything look like it's wonderful and perfect and always fantastic. But of course, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and people that are on television are real people. They bleed, they have emotions, they have feelings, they have ups and downs in their lives as well. And you're very open about some of the struggles and some of the things that you've gone through, and you came through it. Here you are today talking about it, which is fantastic. It's very inspiring to others too, who may be going through things themselves, whether they're in the entertainment industry or not.
Absolutely.
We were talking about, you were mentioning the earlier part of your musical career, and you were able to parlay that into the group, as you mentioned. And look at this great shot we have. Now, this goes back a ways, huh?
Yeah, that was in the early '80s.
This is
Like
you. This is you. Yeah.
that's David and the Giants. That's my band. That David on the left, and then there's Claiborne, and then there's me and Rayburn.
How did you guys all come together? How'd you form the group? And there's their website too, folks. If you want to check out and learn more about the music, their music is out. It's on Spotify and everything else. And still performing, still doing their thing, which is really really cool. The music is fantastic. But how did you guys come together?
We met when I was 16 years old in Biloxi, Mississippi. They were the club band at a pretty famous club called the Vapors Club on the coast, and this club, had the Allman Brothers. They played there. Jimi Hendrix played with Little Richard. I mean, it was really a very famous place to be, And so, but when I was 16 years old, I was auditioning for my band to play in the club, and so my manager asked the club manager if I could sit in with the band to try out to see if it'd be a good thing to do. And the manager said, yeah. And I was 16 at the time, so it's like you got to be 18 to get in, and I was 16, but the managers didn't mind. And so I went up to the band, and they said, well, the manager said, I want this kid to play drums. And so they were like, no, we don't let people just sit in. And but he said, yeah, you need to let this kid sit in. So they said, okay, what do you want to play, Keith? And I said, anything. And so they all just kind of looked at one another, snickered, and said, well, okay, well, I said, just play your fastest song or whatever. And so they did. And I aced it, and they looked around and said, "Oh, who is this little kid?" And the manager said, "Well, that he, you don't know who that is. That he used to be Little Ricky on the I Love Lucy show." And so that developed our friendship when I was 16 years old. And then when I was 19 years old, 3 years later, um, they asked me to be a part of the band. So I joined them, and I moved to Mississippi, Laurel, Mississippi, and have been with them just about ever since.
That is really incredible. All those years together, and you become like brothers, don't you? It's like they're like brothers in a way.
It's like brothers. It's like a marriage. It's like all
Right.
those things. It's like being adversaries at some point. It's just all of that, and artistic sense. Artistic uh, temperaments and different things about what you want to do in the band and what you want to play, and it's all of that. But yeah, they are brothers sincerely, and they're all believers. That's a whole story that they all came to faith in the Lord through my testimony when I came. to faith in the Lord in 1974, and
which was right
we
around this time, 74.
yeah, that's about
Yeah,
74, yeah,
you
and
are. So you came to the
there,
Lord then, right around that time then.
yeah, and I was pretty much a mess, like I said, and I was down at the end of my rope, and I just got to a point in my life where I said, God, I made a mess out of my life. I said, just you know, help me to get out of this mess, and if you do, I'll serve you. Because I didn't even, I said, God, if you're real, save me out of this mess I made out of my life. And he answered my prayer 2 weeks later, and I had an experience with the Lord, which I talk about in my book, Life After
Right.
Lucy. And and from that point on, I went and basically told the guys about Jesus, and they thought I'd flipped out on another drug, and they went from, they just kept on doing what they were doing, and I kept on talking about Jesus, and it just went one way or the other. I eventually left for a season, came back, and and then later on in life, they all came to faith in the Lord and began to play Christian rock, which was at the 1977. And in 1979, I joined them as the Christian David and the Giants. And once that started, we played in churches all over the nation and went to England and Jamaica and played for punk rockers and baptized punk rockers in the River Thames, and just it was just an amazing a decade and a half that I was with them doing that. And then we had a reunion, I think in 1999, and we've been playing together ever since. And we're actually playing next weekend here in Mississippi. We're playing Ohio, uh, coming up at a festival in Ohio as well. Uh, so it's been a real journey with them. We recently had our keyboard player Rayburn, who is one of the twins, pass away about, oh gosh, about 3 months ago or so, three or
No,
4 months ago, which is really was a shock to us, and we're just sad to not have him on the journey with us. But we're still
yeah,
playing as a trio, so we're still rocking for the rock.
you are right. Exactly. Um, when you mentioned, which is very inspiring to people that are watching, uh, back at this time around 1974, things reaching an apex in your life to where you had to find some sort of grounding, and you found the love of the Lord and faith and following. Um, Did any of the expectations of Hollywood stardom and all of the fanfare and everything that came your way from being on iconic television series and being in people's lives through the television shows, was there any ongoing either self uh, absorbed pressure or outside pressure? Did any of that add to any of the things that happened along the way where you reached that, I gotta figure myself out? Or was it just total separate trying to get through life, or a combination of things?
Probably a combination, Jim. It was, all of that. It basically expectations of people. Uh, they would bring up the fact that I was, the little Ricky on the Out of Lucy show, and they'd have a certain idea of what that was, and all I wanted to do was just get away from Hollywood. Uh, my dad uh, had an affair with a young lady at a studio, and he was working for Desi Lou at the time. Um, and it just broke our family up, and I just didn't really want to have anything to do with that anymore. And I didn't want to be known as Little Ricky. I wanted to be known, for who I was at that point. But who I was at that point wasn't worth mentioning right now, because I was uh, I was really lost. I really didn't know who I was. I wanted to be somebody, and not somebody big, but just somebody at all. You know, I felt like I was a shell, and and just attacked by demonic uh, powers that had infiltrated me and infiltrated my life because of my sinful ways. Um, I I just, I was just convicted in who I was, and I didn't think there was any hope for me until Jesus came in my life.
And when that happened, Keith, because it is again a very beautiful and powerful story, how did your life begin to change? What are some of the things that you noticed starting to happen in your life that were positive, that were blessings, that were joyful? You probably, became even more aware of blessings that did exist in your life that maybe you weren't noticing before because you were so busy doing what had to do and what you were involved in. Um, Probably a wealth of blessing and joy started to, you went from empty to your cup and your heart and your soul filling, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was fulfilled because I knew the God of creation, and I knew that Jesus was really real, and he was real, and repenting of my sins, turning my life over to God, reading the Bible, uh, it gave me purpose. I had no purpose in life. It was like I was just useless. You know, I had no hope, and I was just a lost guy. Kind of caught up in the late '60s with the drugs and the whole darkness of that area, that time, that era. um, it sort of all came down on top of me. And when I came to the Lord, it was like, I know the truth. And the Bible says that, you will know, Jesus said, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And so that's what I was. I was free. And that's why I went back to the guys and told them about my freedom in Christ, and how he was real, and how it is really, and he's coming back. And so if there's a God, then we have to, we need to repent. I mean, because I didn't want to go to hell. I knew that there was a hell, being brought up as a Catholic kid and going to Catholic school for years and years and years, wanting to even be a priest at one point, uh, being an altar boy and going through all the ritualistic parts of that. Um, I, I I looked at this like, hey, I found that God is love, and that God is power, and God loves me and understands me, and is empathizes with my weaknesses and my sufferings, as well as my sins. And that's why he died on the cross. That's why Jesus died on the cross, to take all that junk, take all the sin, all the guilt, all the shame, put it on the Jesus, and then Jesus dies and then rises 3 days later, and and overcomes the grave. And so that's who I am. I'm a resurrected person. I'm a born again person who is was dead, and now I'm alive in Christ Jesus.
Have you done speaking? Have you done any pastoral work as you share your story along the way? I know music is also very healing as well, and being involved in the world of music can be a great blessing. But have you done any speaking and preaching along the way too?
I tell my testimony a lot, and whenever I do like festivals, like I'll do an Andy Griffith festival, or a Lucy festival, or even talking on the plane with somebody recently. I just kind of told my testimony to this girl next to me who was wanting to be talkative, so I just started telling my testimony. And it's kind of a natural result of being a believer, is that you have the word of God in you, and you can share the wisdom of the Lord with people, as the Holy Spirit gives you. And so it's not so much a pastoral thing as it is more of a uh, just sort of an outward, natural outpouring of my faith.
which is a very beautiful thing. And of course, along the way too, surrounding yourself with beautiful people like your lovely wife, Kathy,
Yes, yes.
as well. And how many years has it been now?
Well, in October, it will be 50 years that I've been
Wow,
married to my beautiful
this
wife.
October
I
50th.
can't believe it. Yeah,
Wow,
it's hard to believe it.
congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
How did you guys meet?
We actually met at a David and the Giants uh, gig when we were not Christians, or when David and them weren't Christians. I was the only loner, and so we met and we started dating immediately, and I had braces and I had these big platform shoes, and so my wife is a little taller than me, and so this made me look a little taller than her. So I guess when the platform shoes came off, she was like, "Well, he's not as tall as he as he looks." But we dated for about 3 months, and then we asked the Lord. I asked the Lord because we both came from broken homes and divorced families, and I said, I want to make sure this is God and not just us, um,
Right.
and we prayed about it, and I said, let's pray and open up the Bible. I want you to open up the Bible, Kathy, and I want you to close your eyes and I want you to point to any scripture in the Bible, and we'll take that to whether we should get married or not. And we prayed, and then I said, okay. She went to the other side of the room and closed her eyes, opened up a Bible, pointed to it, and it was the Living Bible, which is a paraphrased Bible. And I said, what does it say? And she said, and it was from the book of Ruth in the Bible. It said, it is I, Ruth, make me your wife according to God's holy law. And so that we took that as being, wow, that's amazing. And so we got married that night. We eloped that night in Laurel, Mississippi, and then we got married a couple weeks later in front of our family and a preacher from that was a part of the family.
That's so beautiful. That's a great story, Keith. And again, 50 years in October. Very happy anniversary to you both, and continued blessing and joy. Many more years of health and
Thank you.
happiness and
Thank you.
wedded bliss together for each other. Absolutely. And the entire family. And out of all of that love and those years put in, something else very special was created that you're both a part of and very passionate about, which is this, right? Tell us about this.
Yeah, well, my wife's a ballet dancer, and
Yeah.
after we got married, I think 3 years later, we had our daughter Tara. We've got one daughter, and we've got one grandson, and they live in Phoenix, Arizona. And her husband is a basketball coach, very famous basketball coach, and so those are things that came out of our marriage, but and we're so grateful for both of those. Our daughter is just an amazing dancer too, and choreographer, and award-winning trainer and teacher, and like I said, choreographer. Um, and Bryson, our grandson, is just a very talented young man. He's even he's even signed up for some acting things, and uh, wants to pursue some of that. But his main interest is basketball, which his dad coaches, and so that's we're just blessed. But Ballet Magnificat is is it came out of the fact that my wife is a ballet dancer who won a silver medal back in 1986 at the International Ballet Competition, and she saw after David and the Giants, and we became a Christian band. She saw how we could use our talents and gifts for the Lord, because it does say in Psalm 150 and Psalm 149 to praise him with the dance, praise him with the song, praise him with the high sounding cymbals. And so we saw that we could use our giftings for the Lord if done in the right way, in the right spirit. And so we founded Ballet Magnificat in 1986 as a result of that, as being a ballet that would um, use dance to worship as worship, and also to tell the story of Jesus, to present the gospel to the widest possible audience through this medium of dance and ballet. And so that's who we are. We're the world's premier Christian ballet company. We tour all over the U.S. We tour all over internationally as well. We've been to China, Singapore, South Africa, all continents. We even started a ballet school and company and training program in Brazil, Curitiba, and it's been amazing, how God took. We never would have thought any of this would have happened. We never thought that we would be doing what we're doing in the way that we're doing it. But it's a ministry like David and the Giants, and it's one that's touched many thousands of lives throughout the years.
And mentored young minds and give inspiration and hope to those who also have dreams as well and want to perform and be in the arts, which is an
Absolutely.
absolutely beautiful thing. So you've through all of it, through the ups and downs and the craziness, and again, you are in the annals of broadcast and entertainment, and I think just human history, having been early on uh, that drummer, that performer, the
Mhm.
orchestra at 3 years old, and then getting on to the iconic Lucy and Desi franchise of shows, which was really something special. But through it all, this thread line of music has always been there for you and has opened up opportunities, experiences, doors, blessing and joy for you. Faith comes in, sort of solidifies that. You're able to marry the two with the music, with Ballet Magnificat, and music has gotten
Yes.
you through. Music has been a central theme through. Most people say, "Oh, I bet television and Hollywood has been a central theme for Keith Thibodeaux." Family and faith and music really have been the core for you, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's something that God gave me as a little boy, and I just continued to use it. And Hollywood was, I kind of look at it some ways as a departure from my musicianship. Um, and then I got back on it again after the Alabusi show. And so, often think, what if I just concentrated on music? What if I just, had done that all my life, which I did at one point with David and the Giants when we played in the '80s, and as a full time job. But it's always been there. It's been a gift, and it's my naturalness that I was born with, and it's kind of like thoroughbreds are bred to race, and quarter horses are bred for certain things, and sheepdogs are bred for certain things to herd sheep. It's kind of like me, that was my innate natural ability, that's been with me.
Exactly right. And as I mentioned, the love of family, there you guys are.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Uh,
Tara. There's our daughter, our beautiful daughter. Yeah.
yeah, all very accomplished folks for sure. And again, you said, and bless her. Oh boy,
My
mom
mother. Yeah. Here's my
going to
mom.
be 96.
Yes,
Look how
96.
fantastic she looks, and with her
She does.
smile, she's glowing. Uh,
Yeah.
what is her personality like?
Well, she's in assisted living, and they call her
Yeah,
the prince. They call her the princess.
yeah,
Yeah, or Queen Elizabeth. She's like, they love her. They just love her,
yeah,
and she's got a great sense of humor, and
yeah,
she's a very humble lady, and
yeah.
um, kind of grew up with a lot of hardships in her life. Her mother died when she was real young, and her
Yeah.
dad left, and so she's just she can be feisty too, but
Yeah, sure.
she's got her mind still, so that's good.
And you're very close with her, and it's she's been supportive of you along the way, and I'm sure very proud of you and all the things that you've accomplished in your life, Keith.
I think so. I think she's when I was playing music back in the hard days when I was in my deep depression area, she would always tell me to get a real job. Keith, you need to get a real
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
And she never thought that the music could could do anything, but it 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 was. Yeah, I think I kind of proved her wrong, and I think she was most proud of me when I won. I won. I didn't win it. I was awarded most what was it, like the alumni of the year from this college that I went to in Lafayette, the University of Lafayette, in Lafayette. I was awarded the alumni of the year 2024, and I think she was very surprised to see that. And it's not something that I can say. Well, I went through 4 years or 6 years of college. I only went 2 semesters, and I majored in drinking beer and playing pool. But they called me, and they said, you've won. It's the highest award that the university brings out, and I said, "Are you sure you have the right Keith Thibodeaux?" Because there was many other Thibodeaux in Lafayette, being a Cajun area, but yeah, I mean, it just was. I think she's embraced the fact that I did well and I've done well, and with my wife, and been married 50 years, and my Christianity has been a big deal that she knows about, and she knows that it's lasted for such a long time, and she knows it's real, and so she's a she's happy.
She's happy. And whenever she turns on an I Love Lucy, there is her kid.
Yeah, and she can't get away from it. People
Right.
come in and say, "Are you little Ricky's mother?" Oh, I'd love to meet little Ricky. And so
Right.
my mother has to laugh. She just laughs. She
Right.
says, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute."
And what does she say? Is her maiden name McGillicuddy?
No, her maiden name was Chitty,
Well,
like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Chitty Bang Bang. The public probably comes up to her saying, "Is it McGillicuddy?"
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, and got it.
exactly.
You had moved to briefly in around 77 to Southern California, where you were asked to join the pop band Starbuck, notable for the 1970s hit Moonlight Feels Right, huh?
Yeah, I previously played with a couple guys in the band at a different year or whatever, and I saw them at Six Flags, and their drummer was they were either getting rid of him or he was leaving or something, and they approached me to be the drummer, and I said, "Well, yeah, great, that sounds good to me." So I was with them for a grand total of about 2 weeks and rehearsing in Atlanta, and the fact that I was a Christian at that point, I think was a little bit of a handicap for me with that band, because none of the guys in the band were believers, and I just had a whole different track and a different mindset. And I was let go. Actually, the first time I ever was let go for a drumming thing, um, they I told my wife, I said, this is the very best thing that could ever happen to us. And being newlyweds, she couldn't understand that, but we went back to Mississippi, and I was playing in jazz bands and other kind of local type things. And then I got the call from David and the Giants and David Huff to join the Christian band David and the Giants, because they had started playing in churches and they wanted me to be the drummer. So that started that.
That's really cool. Again, music's that thread that has kept going through and through. And as I mentioned too, you stayed in contact with the Arnaz children over the years, which is wonderful. And Lucy's a wonderful friend, and she's been on the show a number of times, and we've talked about you and her parents and everybody, and oh, of course, her spectacular career in cabaret is a
Oh
she's a
yeah.
phenomenal
Yeah.
performer and
Yeah.
entertainer and singer, and she's funny, isn't she? She is inherently funny. She could
Yeah.
take she could be,
Yeah.
at the supermarket and have everybody in the produce aisle laughing with her quick, dry
Yeah,
wit.
she's quick, and
She's
her
funny.
mom was not funny, but
Right.
she's fun. And Lucy Jr., Lucy Arnaz was always doing plays when we grew up. They actually had a playhouse where it was like a stage, and she would bring Desi and I in to do these little plays that she wanted to do in front of the family, and so we'd go over there and do that. But she always had the bug in her to do that. So this is something that her natural ability is to do that.
Right, and she's out there in Palm Springs, but she's been to New York, she's been all over, and you guys have, stayed in touch and even saw each other recently. Look at the love and affection there, huh? There's a lot of,
Yeah,
entertainment history in that hug.
yeah, she's sweet lady. Being she's like a sister, in a lot of ways. Growing up like that and seeing different aspects of yourself as a kid, you get to know people really well when you're a child, I stayed in Hollywood till I was about 16, or no, excuse me, 15, and that's when I left. But I was friends with them up until that point, and even after the show, I would go there all the time and hang out with their friends and hang out with studio moguls' daughters at their house and go to the beach with them and go to movies and have parties at the house. So it was just part of my life.
You mentioned the grandson and even your daughter. Uh, when they first realized that you were on television and they see these reruns that have not come off the air since the 50s and the 60s, what was the reaction like? I mean, you're just dad and your grandpa and all, you're a family member, but
Yeah.
how has the family reacted over the years, to that notoriety?
Well, my daughter loves it, and my grandson enjoys it as well. I think he gets a lot of it from his mom, and but you know, she she's kind of a Lucy character. My daughter, she really is. She's like the character Lucy, and she's got her funny ways, and she's so talented and so gifted, and such a sweet girl, and will do anything for anybody, and is so generous, and it's just she used to watch it as a child, the reruns. We had videos, and she'd always play them, so she embraced it. She wasn't somebody who didn't enjoy it or didn't want to be a part of all that, didn't want to talk about it. She enjoys show business in general. Yeah.
Now, if you had an opportunity, Keith, if Hollywood if they called and said, "Hey, we've got some ideas for you to be a part of a sitcom or a drama or some other feature," or if the theater world, Broadway and others called, would you have any interest in any of that, going sort of back into that world, or are you comfortable with the way things are now?
Well, I'm comfortable. I'm satisfied, but you always look. Uh, you always look. Uh, if there's a genuine opportunity that makes sense and you know makes makes it makes it God's will for your life.
Right.
I think I always look at it under that frame. and what is God letting me know about this? And it is what it is. But I don't have aspirations to be on stage or anything like that, or in front of the camera anymore. But yeah, it's just a plain and simple. What's God want me to do in this?
And the South has always been in your roots. I know I've mentioned you to a couple of people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he probably lives in Bel Air, or he's in Laguna Beach, or something." Right? He said, "No, he's back home in the South, where he's from, where the family is, where the roots are, and the
Yeah.
South has always called your name, right, Keith?"
Yeah, I'm a Southern boy at heart, but I have California in me. I have to admit, growing up there, and from about 4 years old to 15, that was your life.
The
That
prime time, yeah,
a
right,
formative part of your life.
exactly.
So I'm kind of like schizophrenic in that way. I don't want to say
Right,
schizophrenic because I was schizophrenic at one point in my life, uh, when I went through my battles. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I've got this. People say, hey, where do you live in California? No, I live in Mississippi. So Mississippi is known as the lowest state on the rung, and people, I think it gets a bad rap in a lot of ways, and there's some bad things about it, but there's also some bad things about California that I don't like anymore. So
so he's a little bit country, he's a little bit rock and roll, as Donnie Marie used to say.
that's what they said. Yeah.
That's it. That's amazing. What are some other things that are coming up you're excited about? There's the website for David and the Giants as well, and also the upcoming shows, things of that nature. And there's we've been mentioning Ballet Magnificat. There's the website there as well, both .com. Other things that are coming up that you're looking forward to as well. And again, the anniversary. Can't wait to see what you do and where you head or what happens with that. Congratulations again. 50 years is a real
Thank you.
milestone.
Thanks.
Other things coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something coming up. I mean, I'll be playing with the band in various places, and the ballet, of course, is busy, 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 busy. And I've even got a gentleman from New York that's looking. We're talking about a book, and it's an interesting idea, and I I'm kind of working with him right now on that, and we'll see where that goes.
Cool. So there's always things coming up. And has there ever been talk about a movie or anything, like on your life, on your incredible experiences? I mean,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
this could be
part of
that
that.
type of thing. Yeah, in some way, form, or fashion, it could be.
That's
Yeah,
cool. That's exciting. Wow.
I
So
can't
a lot.
really say much. I
Yeah.
can't really say much about it.
Exactly right. I can't say anything, but stay tuned. Coming up. Exactly.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
those TV phrases. A real pleasure catching up with you once again, my friend. I'm glad you're in a sweet spot in life. You're there in Mississippi, beautiful countryside, wonderful family. You're still at it, playing the music. You're at a good point in your life, looking back, but also looking ahead and celebrating the joys and blessings. You've got a deep, strong faith. God bless your mom. What's your mom's first name?
Marianne.
Marianne. Sending you some love from Jim Masters and all of us here.
Yes.
God bless the 96 coming. Um, when you look back at all of it, my friend, what are some of those blessings and joys that you think about that come into mind for you, and what would you say now to that kid that we all saw on TV and that is still out there doing his thing, making the music, still out there, putting smiles on people's faces, which is something that you've done throughout your life, no matter what you've gone through yourself, you still have been able to do things that connect with people and entertain people and get them to, get out of their funk and their troubles and their worries. What would you say to that younger version of Keith now, my friend?
Well, I guess I would say, you know, have faith in God, because it is truly Jesus that is the answer to all your problems and all your, uh, all your aspirations. Just put it in the hand of God and trust in Him. Because if I would have to speak to my younger self, it would be like, you know, God has some amazing things for you in life, and amazing things that you probably never thought you would do or see or go to or whatever. He's got some amazing things, and I think that if I would have known the Lord earlier in my life, I would have had to go through all my trials and tribulations. But the good thing about it is that even if you go through trials and tribulations, God can handle that, and that's the reason that Jesus Christ came and died, is that He can handle our problems and situations that come up in life that we're not prepared for as human beings.
Beautifully said, my friend. You are a preacher. You
Ah,
absolutely are. It comes through so naturally and so authentically, my friend.
thank
Really
you.
a pleasure to chat with you. Of course, the book, as we mentioned, folks, Life After Lucy, is available, and it is a page turner. But just having an opportunity to chat with Keith, he's been in our lives in various ways, shapes, and forms for many years. But to get a chance to take a little bit of a deeper dive here on the Jim Master Show, the man behind all of these wonderful things we've experienced and enjoyed. Keith, continued blessing to you,
Thank you.
to your
Thank you, buddy.
family. Keep
Thank you.
making that music. Let's stay in touch as we have. Continue to welcome you to do that. And as I said last time, we would keep the porch light on for you. You are definitely welcome back. You have a home here at our show, and I hope you'll stop back again and keep us apprised of all the cool things that you're doing. And once again, you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, my friend.
Well, thanks, and sorry for the break.
Oh, breaks are a good thing. Breaks are always a good thing.
Well, you got to pause for the cause. That's what they used to say.
Right.
Now
A,
a
preg- a
pause for the
preg-
cause.
pause for the cause, a pregnant pause. But I really hope you enjoyed yourself and the time with me as much as I have with you, my friend.
Here too, Jim. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. All right. You be well and you take care. And thanks for the generosity of time. And we'll connect again real soon. Okay.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Be
God
well.
bless.
Take care now.
God bless you too.
You too. Keith Thibodeaux joining us here on the Jim Masters Show, an extraordinary conversation with one of the great guys from not only Hollywood, but just in life. And again, somebody who's been able to carve out a wonderful spot in his life with music always being the thread, and a wonderful inspirational message, empowering. And again, he's been a part of our lives for so many years through I Love Lucy, the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour. But also, if you have not heard David and the Giants, and you've heard his incredible musicianship, make sure you go to their website and check it all out, because they have a lot of music. Their music is out on Spotify and places where music is sold. And there he is with the guys, and they're out there playing constantly. And again, the other thing too that we mentioned real quick is Ballet Magnificat, that he and his lovely wife, Kathy, who are coming up on 50 years of marriage in October. God bless them both. Ballet Magnificat is absolutely extraordinary. And this has been a labor of love for the two of them for many, many years as well. And as we mentioned, here is that website too, in case you want to check that out. That's incredible. And again, the kid with that great sweater from the 1960s, the one and only Keith Thibodeaux. Open, authentic, a deep dive conversation right here for you on our show. And gang, if you enjoyed it, as I mentioned earlier, give us a thumbs up, like. We would love it if you give it a like. Share some of your memories of Keith Thibodeaux, and some of your memories maybe of I Love Lucy, the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, the Andy Griffith Show, all those great shows that he's been on. And of course, if you've heard him in performance, you've had an opportunity to get some of his music, or maybe you read the book as well, Life After Lucy. Drop a comment. Let us know what you enjoyed about our conversation, and share some of your Keith Thibodeaux memories in our comments section. So like, comment, subscribe, share this episode, and come back and see us again for another great deep dive celebrity conversation here on our show. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Thanks for your generosity of time too. We'll always keep the porch light on for you, as we have for the one and only Keith Thibodeaux. Yeah, it was Little Ricky, and then some. A real pleasure to have him here once again on our show. He was with us before. You can go back in the archives to see the other conversation I had with Keith, and this was sort of a encore performance here on the show. Great guy, great friend, and a pleasure to chat with him in a deep dive setting. All right, we love you all. Take care of one another. Be good to one another, and don't forget to love one another and yourself, as we always say. It's really important to do that. Appreciate you being with us. Spread the word about our show, and we'll see you on the next one. Check out all the archives. It's a massive archive of past episodes, celebrity interviews, and more, and much, much more coming up on our show and our series. Get ready for the next episode coming up in just a moment as well. Take care, everybody. Be well, and cheers.